All right, ladies and gents, welcome, and also thank you for following Silver in Titans League. I was just saying to JBR last night that, when we went into Silver in December, I didn't have a lot of plans to make things super professional. I didn't have a lot of plans to, get max coverage. It was just make sure this is the best for the players. Whatever happens with the coverage and for the viewers is kind of second in our minds. But it's been so cool, the game started and suddenly I was like, wait a second, we have to cover everything because it's just so exciting. And anyways, I've had a really good time, and the feedback, both on the streams, but also more specifically on the Extras channel on YouTube, has been awesome. So keep leaving the comments there, the likes and all that stuff. This is a best of 5 between two Chinese players who should be fairly familiar with each other. And the winner of this best of 5 will make it into Gold League for Titans League, which actually starts the first week of January. So one of these players you're going to see a lot more of. Though, obviously, gold coverage will not be quite as heavy as silver coverage, actually, because we'll have the whole Platinum League thing. But the favorite in the bracket, I said it at the very start when I was doing my prediction series, the favorite in the bracket was always going to be Lix here. And Lix, he has not had much trouble at all. I should have double-checked this, but I believe he hadn't lost a game yet. So Lix comes in here. He also is the more experienced tournament player. And once again, he finds himself up against Brave Bear, who I introduced as I Buy Power because on the bracket it said I Buy Power, and his main account on ladder is I Buy Power. But I believe the characters you're seeing at the bottom right, that actually means Brave Bear. So I'm going to try and, talk to him or introduce him as Brave Bear from here on out. Who's a player that I knew of. I remember he was always called I Buy Power back in the day. I never knew he was called Brave Bear till 6 months ago. And I'd kind of gotten some things confused there. So now, normally I'd say, you've got two Chinese players. Lix is probably, well-respected by the Chinese scene, so there's a little bit of this little brother syndrome where people are going to look at Lix and be like, oh, God, how can I beat him? He's one of my idols. And I think all that could be true here. However, if you watched this player play up against Uzi, and I had expected Uzi to win that series, this guy can play, man. Especially in Castle Age, if it gets to 3 town centers with knights, this guy's a maniac. The things that he was doing in the high-pressure scenarios in that best of 5 against Uzi was impressive to me. So I didn't get to cast any Lix games. I wanted to cover the best sets, and because he dominated everybody, I didn't get to cast him at all. And that's the same with some other players as well. But yeah, I think that's enough for the introductions here. We've got Golden Swamp game number 1. Hello, Sergio. And we've got a dock here from Brave Bear. Lix is going to do the same on this side. He's playing as the Berbers. And there's a lot of food on this map, guys. But it's always worth competing for some fish in the middle. And not just to dominate the fish and control the fish, but also to have some Navy out there, as that can offer a little bit of protection for any land army that walks over the amphibious terrain. Or also having Navy around where the gold is always important too. So scouting is always paramount here. And you can see from Lix's point of view, gotta love how Lix is playing on his second account, by the way. Thanks for that, Lix. Obviously, we have the scoreboard at the top, and you guys can put it together that EMA003 is Lix. But, little caster pet peeve of mine. But yeah, he's looking right now, and seeing that house, he should double check. Usually you see that house and you think, okay, why are they making houses next to the shoreline? Is there a dock? And Lix has done everything he can to miss it. Now he sees it. And now he has to debate on if he wants to attack that villager. That villager's got no loom. Loom is now coming in at the moment, and Lix is being annoying against the fishing ship. And then Brave Bear comes over here, and these are really precious hits for Brave Bear. Really nice hits. Lix reacts a little bit later than he will have wanted to. All right, so I think both players are just going to go into some water control. So I think we're probably going to see a second dock and a couple fire galleys and galleys. Not seeing any signs that we're going to see anything else. At this point, players usually use the food income on the water as their main source of food income for villagers. And then they transfer everything else to Golden Wood. So we probably are going to see a second lumber camp on this side. Lix has gone up a little later here. He has one additional villager. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to, are your docks going to be up? What's your production going to look like? Now, Berbers have faster villagers, but they also have faster ships. And I feel like the faster ships could be really helpful here. And there's the second dock. Lick's obviously looking to scout and see what exactly is happening. He will look to see if there's a villager here, and is just going to attack the fishing ships. Both players getting their fishing ships attacked. And Lix is going to go for an interesting position here. He's going to go forward dock right in his opponent's face. He's not the first player that's done this. I think this is especially strong with like Byzantines and Persians, because Persians and Byzantines have more HP on their docks. But it doesn't hurt if you're Berbers. I mean, you could make an argument that you don't need this if you have the faster ships. But I kind of like it because it makes it really awkward for the opponent to move across here with the potential of demos. Lick's struggling to save this fishing ship, but it is fast. It's not faster than the feudal scout, though. Does save it. And so far, that's been the talking point, as this fishing ship is probably going to go down. Lix has other things to worry about. Fire galley's on the way right now for Brave Bear. So, Brave Bear doesn't seem to be too scared of playing what you could consider some type of meta here, does he? Just going 2 docks. And saves that villager too. The timings for Brave Bear have looked really good. Lick's obviously a very experienced player, but he's never really stood out in 1v1s. He's always been good in 1v1s, but he either hasn't played 1v1 tournaments, or he just hasn't gone very deep into 1v1 tournaments. He's a beast in team games. He's like the perfect teammate for Mr. Yo. And now you've got 2 fires here, and you'll see the scouts be a bit of a distraction here for Lix. And this is where repairs become very important. And Lix, desperate to maybe kill this scout. He's going to pull away with his scout, but Brave Bear does the right thing. He likely will get a kill here, depending on what Lix prioritizes. And Lix now goes for the repair and doesn't come in. Where it is going to come in over here for Brave Bear. But you can see how annoying this little position is. It's like right when you think you've got a good fight. And there goes the scout. But right when you think you've got a good fight, there's a potential for a demo. And that's what Lix is going to try here. But so far, I've been more impressed with Brave Bear. 4 kills, 0 deaths. Hasn't lost a single unit. I don't want to, like, curse the guy, right? I don't want to do the classic commentator's curse, but I said it at the start of the series. I said that I truly think that this guy can take it against Lix based on how he performed in the previous series. Uzi was a maniac going into this silver bracket. And obviously, Brave Bear beat him 3-2. I like the house walling. I like how secure he is there. I like the walls here. The gold position's not going to be good because the other golds are kind of outside the wall. So he really does need to protect this and fight for water long term. The number's obviously higher right now for Brave Bear as well. He even has less TC idle time. The problem for Lix will come in if he can't land this demo. He really needs a big demo shot, and Brave Bear spreads out immediately. And that's not a great demo. And the repair also doesn't come in at the time that he would have wanted there. Man, this fire ship gets saved on 1 HP? This is not the first time he's done this. And he's now being as patient as possible here with the demo. Man, this guy's playing insane. You'll start to see, berry eco and then farming eco become important. And if this dock goes down, Lix could have some big problems. He doesn't have another dock back there, and now his production's kind of split up. He's going for one and done, basically, for these demos. But if the ships are able to pass, then you have big problems. Lil Flurry says, FYI, Dave has no idea where the wrecks are. Well, that's pretty interesting, considering it's been posted on AoE Zone, it's been posted in our Discords, multiple Discords, and there's specific instructions on how to get there. So clearly my buddy Dave prepares. It's always great to put in so much work to get things set up, let others participate, and then get comments like that. Woo! Never gets old. Oh, man. Okay, demo v demo over here isn't that important. This is an interesting move from Lix. He lands a demo. I swear I probably heard this demo first. But that's what Lix needed to get back into this game. And if another demo can land, and land well, I think Lix could be back in this on water. He's definitely going to be later to Castle Age. We got demos on demos. Still looking fine here. There's no demo in queue for Lix. And the HP's pretty low here for Brave Bear, but yet again, I have to say, like, his micros looked really good. His macros looked super clean. Everything about this has looked awesome, and I'm not really seeing the same, getting the same vibes and thinking the same things about Lix over on this side. Could be a map where Lix likes to sneak, right? So he could always like send a villager here. He's a big advocate of sneak villagers. When you think Golden Swamp, a lot of players think this type of game, and it's been precisely what Brave Bear has wanted so far. He's not really stalled out production much on his ships, and obviously had taken more fishing ships away from Lix. And I think, I mean, again, you need big demos right now if you're Lix, but it's getting worse and worse for him. He's still not close to clicking up. And this dock is more than halfway down at this point. So this isn't really, that's something that you have to fear as much if you're Brave Bear. Well, that kind of hurts him a little bit. That's not what he would have wanted there. And so maybe Lix just needs a couple more demos here, and he needs to use a market. Do I have the market events on? I do have the market events on. Interesting move here from Brave Bear, how he sold just 100 stone. Some people will... It's like if you're going to sell stone, you're just going to sell it all. But he sees the importance of getting at least one additional town center. Another interesting addition here, and I like how safe he is here. Like, some people will just patrol their ships in, and then they'll regret it later. And Lix is going to go... Wow, Lix gets the villager, but doesn't get the ship, which is funny. But yeah, he's also going to add a barracks, which could mean follow-up building, like a stable or an archer range. I think in the long run, you want good eco with Celts, and you want to have probably some siege in the mid-game. Imagine if you had full control of the water here, and then you made siege workshops. That would be awesome. And Brave Bear did pull another villager over here to repair. This dock is the most important dock right now for Lix. And he's not repairing it. And it just doesn't seem like he's got the value he's wanted from that forward dock. And Brave Bear is amazing, dude. He's always spreading out his fires. He's made this look so easy. And now that War Galley upgrade should be coming in. So the War Galley upgrade will be in. And there's going to be more fire ships. And meanwhile, we've got a villager boxing this little tiger over here. So it is going to be a stable. It will be 10 fires. That'll be fire ships, not fire galleys. With 2 docks on full HP. Versus... Well, what could be 1 dock for Lix. Obviously, we'll see. And Lix is going to have about 6 fires. And he's late with that upgrade, too. This is looking amazing for Brave Bear here. You think about Celts. You think about Huang, a player who we will be seeing. Oh, nice fires there. Huang will be up against Overtaken in a best of 5 2 days from now. Everyone's paying attention to that series. And we have that as the very last one. But, you know, Huang likes to do this type of thing. He likes to go Night Siege. And the fires loop around here, and this is the perfect timing on the engagement. It's also possible that the War Galley upgrade would have been lost here. I could be wrong, but I think Lix queued it in this dock. And then he moved it because he thought he was going to lose that dock. I think he would have actually been okay there, but just shows the pressure he's under right now. As he falls back and adds a second town center, something we haven't seen from Brave Bear yet. The concern I have for Brave Bear is just... Does he know what to do with this type of position? What's his plan? Because clearly he's kind of winning water right now, and it looks like he's going to town center the middle. But you're not going to be able to town center there. Lix is making houses. Kind of a smart play there from Lix. And he hasn't realized that yet, as he has a knight here, another knight here. No siege to back it up, though. And there goes the town center. And we'll see if Lix tries to come back on the water or what. There is a scout here, and that villager is actually going to kill the scout, which means the monk can move out. And actually, I'm wrong. Yet again, Brave Bear saving a unit on 1 HP. Also, thank you, John, for the 13 months. Nice to see you. Get some hellos in chat if you just got here. I know I've been casting this game, not really focused on everything else. And there goes the scout. Are you kidding me? It's not going to get it, though. The villager saves it. Nice job there, I guess, from Lix. Because he needs small moments like that, right? He needs every conversion he can get. There's one thing that I could really criticize Red for, and there hasn't been much. It would just be the fact that the siege wasn't ready when the knights showed up. Like, he obviously was prioritizing the town centers and the navy, so we understand why. But I think life would have been a lot easier for him if he had even just a scorpion here. Like, Lix is in trouble. Lix basically has nothing right now beyond villagers. He is going to try and get some knights or camels out of his own. Lix went heavy into land eco. He got his wood upgrade and his farm upgrade and wheelbarrow. So he's ahead in those eco upgrades. But he isn't ahead in control of the middle. Though it does feel to me like he wants to plan a castle to get back on water somehow. Obviously, it does feel like the monastery is pretty unimportant at this time. Brave Bear is trying to expand the economy, so he will probably move in with the knights in a moment. And here he goes. Lix clearly a bit panicked here, but also does have the town centers. And I think if you see this knight, you want a monastery. And that's precisely what Brave Bear does. Very good thinking. Because he knows Berbers have cheap stable units. He knows Berbers have better stable units. He just wants to hold this position. Like, if he has the potential to do damage and deny this gold for the next 10 minutes, and he has the middle, that would be awesome for him. This is an interesting decision here. A lot of players don't want to lose their night ball. But he's just trying to pick off villagers right now from his opponent. And so he's going to get a few. The eco KD is not that crazy in this game. And the eco count's fairly similar. But obviously, as it stands, on a map with so much gold in the middle, it is huge. It's hugely beneficial to have control of the middle. And oh, I like this from Lix. These are the types of things that are, you know, just the small little differences that can sometimes change games. Just rewalling that so the knights can escape. And those two knights end up going down. All right. I'm feeling pretty good, chat, considering how I felt when I woke up this morning. I've got a bit of a cold, so the games, I mean, this game immediately has just given me another little boost of energy. Big problem for Lix, obviously. He doesn't know that this is over here. I don't think there will be a big push coming from it, though. This looks all to be safely walled. There's a monastery. Where was that monastery? That's going to be one relic there. We could have another relic over here. Still could be a push at some point. And we have Lix going for town center number 3, which is much later than red. He's just going to try and get this relic in the meantime and hope that these knights can find some value. If red's not paying attention here... Oh my god, he's got demos in there. If red's not paying attention here... Oh my god, he lands the demo. And now, look at this. He even switches the conversion onto the higher HP knights, guys. This is all intentional from him, because he started the conversion originally on one of the weaker knights. That knight that died right there. The hype is real here for Brave Bear. Brave Bear's a sick player. Also, I did cover one of his sets. I don't think they played Golden Swamp. So, like, this is a map that we didn't see from him in his other best of 5. And he's come in here, and he looks like he knows how to play it perfectly. And we're going to see a castle drop here. And that castle drop's just going to be a safe castle in the middle. And I guess the concerns when you're thinking Celts is that they don't really have the best navy. That monk converts a war galley. That's pretty unimportant. You've still got some units lurking around over here. Brave Bear has 2 relics. One of the relics collected is over here, though. And he doesn't react quite in time to be able to hold that position. But I could definitely see him dropping a couple barracks nearby here. And just trying to go pike siege. Because you have the middle locked down now. But do you want to pressure the side when you realistically just need to hold the middle? So I think for Lix, he's going to want a castle here. So we can get more docks up, come back on the water, and then treb that down. You always have a cold T90? No. I understand why people think that, but... my immune system's been much better this year. Now, I did have COVID twice within a 7-month span, so that's maybe what you're thinking of, but... I mean, I said at the start of the stream, I expected to possibly get a cold. It's freezing back home with my family. Like, it was frigid weather. And, of course, it warmed up right after I flew home, naturally. Combined with, like, you know, a bad sleep schedule, combined with bad food, lots of alcohol, like, all that stuff leads to me getting sick usually, so obviously this fight matters here, but this is not where the main focus is going to be to finish off this game, guys. And we have some market abuse from both players, but more so the Celt player, who of course is going to have all that wood. And I think seeing this castle foundation and seeing this dock foundation told Red that Lix would be up, and instead of adding more docks here, Red is actually going to add barracks, so he's definitely going to go for that infantry play. Still being as stubborn as possible in this area, and this is going to be so annoying for Lix. He really wants to clear this up so he can take this gold. He needs this gold. And yet, red is just able to hang around a little bit longer. I'd like to see the pikeman upgrade come in now. I'd like to see the numbers from red. I think that's a big concern, as well as more fires, which he's now doing. Can Lix bring this back? There's a random knight over here that could get value. More conversions coming in over here. It looks like finally red's going to lose access to this. This knight's just hanging out in between. I don't know if he's on no attack stance or if it's just the line of sight. Red probably clicked it there and was thinking if there's units around it, they'll just end up killing those units. But the knight just can't see it, which is kind of funny. Lix spotted the knight, and he's going to drop his second castle there. Pikeman upgrade coming in now. Numbers are coming out, and I noticed that red doesn't have enough stone for a second castle yet. He's going to send more of it to stone now, as he's probably thinking the same, but that could actually be a big concern here, guys. Because you want to have 2 castles at this point to be able to make trebs. But also, with 300 stone, you might be using some of that stone to repair. So that might mean you're on 1 castle forever. It's a close game with KD. 33 kills, 32 deaths. Very close. And once again, guys, thanks for being hyped about Titans League there. He just buys the stone. Honestly, I don't mind it. Castle positions are so important, especially next to someone's dock. Super risky, though. Like, if Lix had a demo here, all these villagers could have gone down. So I think that was a risky moment that he's kind of getting away with. Lix is going for fast fire ship. And Celts struggle with navy options. They don't get bracer. I think they do get galleon, but I don't think they get fast fire. Actually, I forget. Let me put it to you this way. The fact that I don't know tells you everything you need to know about the Celt Navy. You just don't see it picked too frequently. We're going to see pointy boys trying to poke holes through these ships, it seems. I'd love to see the ballistics upgrade and fletching as well from red. I think it's more than worth it when you've got the castles so close to the docks here. I think it is possible to get fast fire. I actually forget. Actually, no. I think they get heavy demo and they get galleon, but they don't get fast fire. Like this trebuchet is exposed against fire ships. And that castle's kind of like a sitting duck right now. And here come the fire ships from Lix. Let's see if Lix can bring it back. Lix has much better navy production right now. Will the halbs be enough? You can tell the panic is in here for Brave Bear. Brave Bear did everything right in the early game, but it's the experienced players that we know so well, guys, that end up just figuring it out in later stages in most cases these days. I think heavy demo would be a great upgrade if you had it. There's some regular demos coming in. The fire ships are wedged in. There are Celt trebuchets coming in, and those are going to be some good demos. The ships can't move. The ships cannot move, and suddenly it's 30 army versus 17. And even without fast fire ship, this is working out pretty well at the moment for Brave Bear. It's just the trebuchet losses that hurt so much, right? Like, losing 2 trebuchets might make the difference between whether or not he keeps his castle up. Lix is just now getting fletching, though. Just now getting ballistics. He's probably thinking, how do I counter halb? And he's going towards camel archers, which he'll obviously need the castles for. And it doesn't look to me like Lix really has enough to be able to get more trebuchets. Obviously, his castle's taking out a lot of fires here, so you never really know. He needs to take out these trebs. He needs to keep his castles up to have a chance. And there's going to be a demo there on the treb. The trebs still fire, though. And oh man, another treb goes down. This is so messy right now, guys. But you know, at the end of the day, there's 2 castles standing for Lix. Could maybe even be a third somewhere. And there's only 1 trebuchet here from red, as he's going to go for siege ram. I like siege ram a lot here. I think clearly the treb thing isn't working out for him, but it tanks fire from the ships, and camel archers also don't do much damage against it. Is it going to be enough, though? Like, I feel like you still want to have those trebs. It's 140 army for Brave Bear. He's behind in score now, if that matters to you. The siege rams will go in, go after the treb. That should be a trebuchet down. Life isn't fair. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Can he get the production here, or is Lix going to take this game? We've got 3 barracks, 4 barracks. This one isn't producing. He just hasn't really been making a lot of navy here. And if I see another treb go down, I'm going to cry for the poor guy. You need to have trebuchets as well as the rams in these situations. He'll have fully upgraded halbs. He's making more siege now. But Lix realizes that this is his moment. He's going to move forward and drop this castle. And this just provides so much extra cover for him, right? He's got enough camel archers. He's got bomber cannons now as well. And I think Lix is on the verge of taking this. This is crazy. Remember, he's on the clock right now as far as gold's concerned. He only has 2 relics and a little bit on gold. He needs to push middle now. But, you know, are the Halbs good enough? And is there enough siege to back all this up? I guess the concern for Lix will be, can he repair this castle? But that's only a concern if this trebuchet won't be picked off. And that's going to be picked off now. We've got 20 camel archers with, I don't want to say full upgrades, but they have all the attack upgrades you would want besides elite. And now Lix is going to mix in Galleon. And poor Brave Bear played so good this game, but just couldn't get the mass together, couldn't get the structure to finish Lix off. And now Lix is somehow clawing his way back into this one. Now, it's not over yet. There's a ton of resources right now for Red, and he's got demos coming. And he's going to go in here for the camel archers. I think it would have been better for him had he gone for the trebs, but he did get one of them. And he's desperately repairing this castle, which is extremely awkward for him at the moment. Okay, so we've got Celt Siege Rams. No Fury Celtica, so they're 270 HP. Plus we've got the Halbs, plus we've got a couple monks in here. Demo's going to go in, hit the Rams. That's a perfect demo. But still the Rams are really strong here. And still obviously desperation mode here for Brave Bear, a.k.a. I Buy Power. A.k.a. the challenger here in this series. Lix is almost out of gold. Like, if he can just hold this area for a little bit longer, this is a really good fight. Because he's killing quite a few gold units. And he's also taking out a Treb. If Red can just hold on here and spam Halbs and Rams, in like 5 minutes, Lix might be completely out of gold. And he knows it. Which is why right now he's going for guilds, so he can get more in return for his sales at the market. I would like to see more demos from Red as well, as he does get that Treb. I wonder if you could even consider Onager here. Could you go like a elite Woad Raider? Probably not, right? What's crazy is Red still has all this gold. Look at that. Lix has found villagers on the wood line. Most of Red's gold income has just been towards the middle here. Again, like fletching and Bodkin and ballistics. It's just those things that all the best players are going to do in this situation. The Castle Fire could be helping so much more than it is currently. No real side pressure from either player. This might put in Lix's mind that he could drop stables over there and start to raid. And he is getting cav upgrades. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see villagers head over that way. Onager is on the way now. Can someone tell me though, chat? Do Celts get heavy demo? I could have sworn they get heavy demo. Galleon is such a good addition. Like, this army from Lix is... It's the perfect unit comp, but also the way he's controlling it seems to be perfect as well. Fires are always in front, ranged armies behind, lots of patience with the siege. Onager could be enough here. It honestly could. With this much gold, he had like 4 or 5 Onagers with the Halbs. Could take out the ships, could take out everything. Now, if we don't have ballistics, we're not going to see heated shot, guys. And here comes some demos. Obviously, Lix isn't going to be concerned about the demos against Lightcap. He's going to be okay with this. This might even be intentional, because this is his kill army. There's the Onager upgrade. It is killed Onagers. Feels like Red needs to keep this castle up. There's bombard cannons and there's trebs, though. Here comes the demo. Good demo shots. Decent Onager shots. Castle's still being repaired. He's about to run out of stone. Will he notice in this moment that he's about to run out of stone? As Lix uses the camel archers, takes out the Onager, backs away again. Red still has the population lead, but he's in that autopilot mode where he's always producing villagers. And he's at 140 villagers. So many of those villagers are towards the middle right now. And so many of those villagers are exposed. He just does not know what to do with Celts. And for Lix, I mean, you know, he's realizing there's opportunities on the sides. His micro's insane. He hasn't lost... Well, okay, he finally loses some units to the Onagers, but the high-level players, man, they just make Onager look like such a useless upgrade, honestly. You don't see Onager that frequently because players like Lix are able to do that. And Lix is just going to drop a castle in the middle. He's almost out of gold over here. He had one more tile. And now he's going to get access to the middle. So now this flips. And now I do not see a way back for Brave Bear. As now he gets heavy demo. Oh, God. That hurts, right? Like, I think if heavy demo was in and he would have committed more to water, some crazy things would have happened here. And that's what demos can do, guys. Like, even with heavy demo or without heavy demo, half that army went down. But is it too little too late, right? Like, now galleons can come out of the docks. Light cav can raid on all the sides. And the GG's called, so he got the highlight. And there we go, 151 units made, or 151 halbs made by Red. But he just wasn't able to close it out. And, like, is that going to be a theme in this series? Where he did everything right. I felt like his Dark Age and Feudal Age was so much better than Lix. And then his game plan going towards Imp just felt a little more awkward. Lix had a pretty good plan. He knew he needed multiple castles. He had some navy. He also mixed in the camel archers. I think it is also a civ awkwardness thing as well. I think Berbers are a little bit easier to play towards Imp, having Bracer and having fast fire and such. But definitely one that if this series ends like 3-2 or something and Lix wins, Brave Bear's going to look back at this and say, man, I could have done better there. I think what the key was a few more demos and just having the second castle up a little bit earlier. This castle here was a castle that you place if you're going to win the Treb War. Otherwise, it's just an invitation for your opponent to Treb you down. That's exactly what happened. He obviously had to commit a lot to repairing there as well. Halbs themselves are just really poor against Camel Archers and Navy, but you need to maintain a mass, and you need to have it in combination with Siege. And the problem was, first he had the Siege, lost the Siege, then he had the Halbs without the Siege, and then it finally reached a point where he had a combination, but he didn't have the mass of either that he would have wanted there. But, again, I think the big thing here, the thing that would have been the game changer, would have most definitely been heavy demolition ship. He did have good economy in this game. It's a sad, sad sight to see this and still lose the game. Well played, Lix. Lix takes game number 1. If every game is like this, though, the series is going to be a very long one and a very competitive series. I think Brave Bear, I believe in the guy. I think he's got the skill to be able to beat even a monster like Lix. Okay, so here we are, game number 2. And I was not expecting to see Poles selected here on Arabia. The version of Arabia we're using here is definitely a little bit more closed compared to other versions you might see. But when you think Poles, you think about getting those walls up, placing those farms perfectly, and mining stone. Things that are far from a guarantee on Arabia. So stone positions for the Polish player, a little exposed here. As I think it's fair to say that this is absolutely a must-win. I know he's good, and I said that he could beat Lix, and I think he showed in game number 1 how close he could come to beating a guy like Lix. But winning 3 straight against the legend like Lix, I think would be too tough of a task. This has to be a win, I'd say, for iBuyPower, aka Brave Bear, to have a big chance. It is true, we don't see it so much at the high level, but Poles are actually a pretty good aggressive civ as well, with Vil rushing and tower rushing as well, but you just don't see it too much in the high-level meta. There's just too many good eco bonuses for the Poles to take advantage of. I think it's opening yourself up to taking a lot of damage if you choose to go aggressive with them instead of defensive. All right, anyways, so Brave Bear is playing as the Poles. Lix has the Hindustanis. And this is a civilization that could pretty much counter any type of civ. If the enemy's going archers, Hindustanis can handle that really well. If the enemy's going for stable units, they can handle that pretty well as well. And I think, like, the one weakness they might have as a civilization is probably against, like, heavy pike siege. But obviously that's a tough thing to get into, and a lot of early game things have to happen. And pike siege is not really what the Poles are known for here. Bases look pretty good for both players. I think I prefer Lix's base because of the wall potential. Wall potential is obviously there as well here for iBuyPower. And if he gets the walls down, he's going to have more space, which is what you want to use if you boom. But overall, you know, you've still got some exposed resources. I think that main gold being a bit further forward, or just like walling this area requiring more walling than Lix as well. It's just going to make life a teensy bit more awkward. Yeah, Lix with 4 on wood at the moment. And building a house out here kind of makes me think he might go for an early barracks in this game. But no backstone for the Poles. Definitely makes you think, right? I guess this could be safe, though, if you wall this direction. For Season 2, by the way, we will be using a different version of Arabia. We won't be using this version of Arabia. We've opened it up a little bit more. And also, we will have a different drafting rule set. So we probably will be seeing certain civilizations less frequently because there'll be more bans on the draft. And I don't know if that stuff's public yet, actually. I mean, if it's not public now, it'll be public in like 10 hours or something. Or like within the next 24 at least. We have switched up a few things, as well as the map pool will have 5 or 6 maps, I forget which, coming back from the first season. And then we're going to have 5 or 6 new maps switched in. So the map pool will be different for Season 2. Obviously, this is like Season 1 Silver. It happens right before Season 2 of Gold and Platinum. And these players are playing to get into Gold right now. All right. Okay, the bot woke me up. I didn't have coffee yet. Oh, mods, help me out, but also thank you for that, Mr. Bot. All right, so here's a barracks from I Buy Power. He's going out to scout Licks at the moment. And he knows to steer clear of this area because he saw the house. I think Licks was initially thinking that he was going to go for early Drush play. But then I think he looked at his map and he was like, you know what? Let's actually go for feudal age aggression. And feudal age aggression is just much better against walls. It feels weird. But the meta these days is not like stopping the walls. It's just attacking the walls and following it up. Whereas like way back in the day, if there was a wallable map, players would go for militia more frequently. I guess like either are still strong, but it's just a shift of mindset the players have had. And all right, we're going to have a barracks opening here. So it kind of looks like man-at-arms for both players. As for Red, he does not know it's going to be man-at-arms from his opponent. And Lick's the same as well. Yeah, their scouting by Arabia standards is actually pretty poor here. You could actually see both players just running into each other with the militia or getting surprised. Is pausing on mobile phone possible? I think it's only possible if you have a certain type of phone. As well as the rewind feature. Midstream, I think, is only possible if you're on like Android or something. All those things are obviously possible on desktop. And, ooh, did Red see that? I don't believe he saw the militia, because I think he's going to check the gold. And then I also don't know if Lick saw the militia. This is going to get really interesting. Did he check the gold? No. Third militia's in the barracks. Yeah, he definitely has no clue. Let's see what his reaction time looks like here. He could easily wall his villagers in here because of how he's positioned. What? Licks is like hiding in the wood line. So both players have struggled with their scouting. Licks has an opportunity to catch a glimpse of this. Red has an opportunity as well. They both probably feel like they're gods right now. And they both could lose villagers. That's one villager down for Licks. This is before the man-at-arm upgrades even clicked. That should be a second villager down for Licks. He's probably microing here. And he killed one. The scout did go down there for Red. Some players would actually prefer to still have their scout alive on full HP. But that's not a bad start here for Brave Bear. As he killed 2 villagers. Actually, he didn't lose the villager, excuse me. The unit that he lost was the scout. So he killed 2 villagers and lost 0. And he's protected himself from this as well. So as long as he's able to make, a couple archers and skirmishers here, he definitely has the eco lead. So I think Licks has more potential to hang around here and get some damage done. Oh, man. Oh, maybe not, actually. He's going to throw away his scout. But yeah, the 3 men-at-arms will require Red to stay at home for a bit, which makes it awkward because Licks can freely run forward. And these militia are here. And I guess I'm a little confused. I guess this militia was at home the whole time. A couple quick walls needed. Fletching timing and archer numbers, all big important things here. We should see a blacksmith for both players here shortly. And there's that blacksmith from Red. Meanwhile, the militia are just distracting an archer. That's actually okay. He's also about to get housed too, which is kind of funny. Look at Licks trying to block here. Licks is like, I need a villager kill. I didn't get one yet. And Licks is not going to get it. Disaster for Licks. This is so good. So good for Brave Bear. Now, remember, in the previous game, everything was going so well for him. He was going much better than I think it is currently in game number 1 as compared to game number 2 here. But still, having killed 2 villagers, cleared out the men-at-arms like that, and you have good ranged unit numbers, the potential to wall up and then being able to farm around your full works is there. because he hasn't been able to really take advantage of any big Polish bonuses yet, except for maybe the fact that his villagers heal up a little bit. The Brave Bear's done an incredible job keeping units alive. As I say that, though, he seems to think that Lix is... He's, like, paranoid because he knows Lix's reputation. And he seems to think that... Caps Rage, hello? 1 second, guys. Did my game crash? Great, my game crashed. Okay, thanks, DE. Well, I have to reopen the game now. But I'm concerned because this is a recorded game. I don't think I've ever had a crash in recorded games. But actually, what could be good for us here is that it didn't give me an error code and it just crashed. So I think it's likely that DE is just being DE. And that we should be fine to speed back up to that point. Whereas if it said, like, out of sync or something, then we'd have problems. So yeah, I'm going to reopen my game. Sorry about that, guys. Small indie dev company runs this game, so we have to cut them all the slack that we can. Your game session ended unexpectedly. Please describe what was happening when this occurred to help diagnose the issue. I was casting a game like I've done 1,000 times. Submit. Okay, perfect. Report submitted successfully. Thank you for your assistance. You're welcome. Glad I can help. All right, so I got to speed back up to that point. Caps Rage should allow that. What time were we actually at? Well, I know what was happening in the game, so that should be fine. And let's try this again. All right. But yeah, so I guess like a couple things to talk about. Obviously, we saw a lot of the game. I think that this game is flowing perfectly for the Poles. The question mark's just going to be, like, how much do you fear that threat of the Golem later? And how much do you want to get onto stone? Because it feels like you want to take advantage of every bonus you can. And if that's the case, you might want to consider mining stone. Some players will even go full stonewall with the Poles and then just mine stone like a madman. I think I prefer the Hindustanis overall here, our base. For Arabia. I think if it was a closed map, it'd be a bit closer in my mind, but... Here, the bonus that... And here we can kind of see what was happening on this side. But I think the bonus that's going to matter the most here for the Hindustanis is not going to be their units. It's going to be their cheaper villagers. They can recover so well compared to other civilizations because they don't spend as much food on vills, which allows them to squeak in. Like, look at this. Eco upgrades that his opponent didn't get at all. And, oh, crap. Okay, this is pretty much where we left off. And thankfully, we're in the clear. But yeah, I just realized no wood upgrade, no farm upgrade right now for red. So we'll have to check resources collected at some point. But he did get fletching. He likely will get the walls down. And he's got an opportunity to counterattack against Lix. So Lix is obviously fully protected right now. So I think Lix's food eco is going to be really, really good in the next stage. And let's see what Lix can do because he's fully walled, right? Fully walled players are always going to be feeling a lot more confidence in these scenarios. And a little just passing moment here. And you could tell Red noticed, he's like, why is he sending one unit there? He probably has his other army here. And now he's going to see these. Oh, he just missed him. Oh, that's so good for Lix. His Red looked away for a moment, and now he's going to lose an archer, and he could lose 2 villagers here. It's a bit interesting. I've seen a couple instances where they both have tried to fire, and they clicked away too early. Which normally happens when you have a lot of lag, but they're both from China, which tells me they're playing on very low ping. So it could be that they're just trying to micro too quick. But, yeah, I guess in the end here, everything's feeling kind of okay here for Lix, who has the same amount of villagers, if not one more from what I'm seeing right now. Poles on Arabia. It's such an interesting move. I feel like there's other bonuses, there's other civilizations that you would want that have other bonuses that would apply faster for you. As he's gone for full work number 2, and he's going to add those farms around there. That villager still isn't walled yet. Like, he still hasn't been able to wall this, and something that Red has tried to do is he's tried to keep his units on his gold because he's so worried that Lix is going to loop in over here. But I think he's giving Lix a lot of respect, and Lix is just playing it just like standard and kind of predictable. Which I guess if you're Lix is also a very unpredictable thing to do, which is kind of interesting, right? But yeah, in the end, there's a fair amount of archers here. There's 3 skirmishers for Lix, which are going to matter the most. Now we might see Lix loop around to that gold. I don't like how Lix grouped his units here, though. I think that he's giving Red an easy opportunity to wall this. He's not really having faith in his ability for the skirmishers to hold this. Villager actually helping here more than you would think, guys, because the skirms do have armor, which means they tank a lot of shots. But yeah, Red's going to finally get those walls down. But look at Lix's resources in comparison. Like, Lix's game has actually been simpler. Yes, he lost 2 villagers, but there's been no focus on his base at all in Feudal Age beyond that early attack that happened with the militia. The Reds had a lot more work to do. Lix clicks up here. So he's 2.5 minutes away from Castle Age. And Red's getting wheelbarrow yet. Man, the uptime's going to be insane. As we see range number 2 right now for Lix. So, you know, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the words that I speak. Like, I feel like to a certain extent, you guys might pay attention for 65% of the things I say. But one of my big call-outs here, which I wanted to be in the back of your mind, was when the fight happened. Yes, Red had killed 2 villagers, but he still had an army in his base, which allowed that follow-up for Lix to be a whole lot easier, right? And so that's why you're seeing Lix in the better position now. So losing to, you know, people always ask, like, who's in the better position, blah, blah, blah. It always depends, obviously, but a big part of how this game has played out has been the fact that one player killed villagers, but they lost their army in the process. We do have the uptime coming in right after wheelbarrow here from Red. And now he sees the ranged army from Lix, and I don't think he was expecting this from Lix. Lix had 2 archers running back. He probably was expecting stable units. And so Lix is moving forward, hoping to get crossbow and bodkin arrow on a good timing, and I think he's going to be able to. And look at his resources. He could do a lot with those resources. Panic walls here from Red, and he might need to dance with Feudal Age army. The last thing he'll want to do is tower this gold. But if he feels forced to, he might drop the tower now. And there's the tower. Okay, so he's got no stone available freely in the back of his base. If you were to try and take this stone, it would be vulnerable, right? This is amazing for Lix, who drops the second town center. Again, his villagers are dirt cheap. Lix is also going for a university, which will be for the ballistics upgrade, which will allow him to dominate the middle of the map with archers. And he's got ballistics already. This is so freaking clean from Lix, man. It's not this game. If he loses this game, you think, okay, Lix played super well. That's Arabia for you. Hindustanis versus Poles kind of makes sense. But the game that's going to live in Brave Bear's mind right now is game number 1, where he was in a winning position. Now, I think there was a hole here. There might be a tree, but I don't think there is. I actually think there's a 1-tile gap there. And Red's really going to want to go aggressive now, as he'll know he's behind. Bodkin and crossbow coming in as well here. Loses the villager, and there's the siege workshop. So we're not going to see ballistics. Instead, we're going to see siege. Probably a good play. You know, the person who is with crossbowmen faster is normally going to rush ballistics. So, not sure if you want to play catch-up. You want to add something that can help you get ahead and change the current situation. Yeah, I agree. He hasn't been able to play to his Civ strengths at all because it's Arabia, right? And that's why I had kind of questioned the Poles pick for this map. And this is where Brave Bear is going to realize that his opponent has ballistics. And now he has to try and out-micro it. Which, to be fair, he's done a really good job at. And he's going to wait for a Scorpion now. And still no second town center for him. It seems like there's so much work that Red has to do right now as Lix is going to pull ahead. Probably by about 10 or 15 villagers this game. Interesting talking point with Lix is that he hasn't gone to stone at all. So he doesn't seem concerned in the slightest about his opponent going archers. And why would you be concerned with the Poles continuing with archers when you can get fully upgraded skirms as well with the Hindustanis? Like, if the Civ had really bad skirms, then suddenly you're, like, forcing yourself to go into stone to go for the Gulam, which is anti-archer. But as we always say about the Civ, Hindustanis can kind of do it all, and they can do it all really, really well. A couple crossbowmen here, demanding a little bit of respect. We'll have TC number 2 on the stone. Still no real potential for a counterattack for Brave Bear. We'll see if Lix adds his own siege. I feel like siege on this hill would be really important. And this is actually a pretty good fight for Brave Bear. But still, obviously, no ballistics for him. And Lix is trying to dodge the Scorpion shots. Here, Lix is repositioned, picking off... Or not picking off, but picking away at the villagers, I guess. And yeah, Lix's micros looked really clean in the middle of the map. This feels like a game that Lix can never lose based on how clean he's playing it. Just like the confidence in which he's going about things, right? This is where you're seeing a massive skill gap between the players. Just based on how they executed a little bit in Feudal Age, and then what you're able to do with it when you have that position going to castle. Like, a lot of players would have bought stone and bought some wood, dropped the TC here to keep this protected. Or added siege. He's like, nah, don't need it. I'll just go for eco, control the map with my army all the time, and then I can just drop a castle. I don't need an extra town center at all. You know, picking poles here could have been Brave Bear thinking, I need something more against Lix, right? Like, if he plays against me, he might go for a more standard pick, like Britons, Franks. You know, there's a number of civilizations that could be mentioned besides Poles. But when you're up against a player who is so strong, and you know so well, both these players being Chinese, and Brave Bear kind of being maybe top 10 in China, Lix being top 3, I think it definitely gets in your head a little bit. Especially if, like, game 1, you're like, man, I'm doing this, and then you just lose. Your mindset just doesn't feel too strong, I imagine. Man, look at the food eco for Poles, though. I guess he's not spending as much on villagers. But the eco for Poles is insane. I think Fast Imp might actually be what he's thinking of now. Yeah, maybe he was hoping for a slightly better map as well, right? Like, he took some risks, for sure. I think this is winnable for Red if he gets a big crossbow number and goes Fast Imp Arbalest. But then you have to worry about the opponent going Golems. And that feels well-timed here for Lix, right? Red trying to get some type of a counterattack in. And Lix still having ballistics from before. He's going to clear this. And clearly he's going to be thinking about a castle. I'd like to see the castle here. Protects both these town centers and that extra gold. He might prefer the hill on this side, as he drops TC number 4 on that gold. And Red is on the way to the Imperial Age. Behind by about 15 villagers, but is on the way to Imp. I don't know what the army count's going to look like when he gets there. Lix is the same exact uptime. Lix has dominated this game after a crazy comeback in game number 1, where it felt like it was a strong mix of Lix being Lix, but also some inexperience from Brave Bear, not quite understanding what to do in the crucial moments of that one. We're going to see another range. And you know, this might not work out here for Red, guys, but I think it's actually the correct call. Trying a Fast Imp is probably your only way to come back in this game based on how things have gone. You're going to be outboomed. Your opponent has more options than you. The opponent has great counter options to everything you do. You want a tech advantage, and you want a timing advantage, and that's always going to be Fast Imp Arbalest. Trying to do Cav is pretty unrealistic at this stage, as we see a really important castle for Lix in the middle. Like, I feel like this is enough to add an extra minute or two to the journey Red's going to try and take across the map to hit Lix. Not to mention it allows him to mine more stone, which isn't even his. Lix loses a couple units here. He's clearly stopping with the crossbowman production. And he's just going to go into the Golem now. So he's probably going to need a castle at home soon. Just in case the Arbalest move out across the map. But if I'm Red, I go right across the middle. Right? You got to force fights all the time here. On here, he's got the Scorpion. He's been waiting with this thing. And he probably will see the Golem now and the Siege Workshop. And he's probably like, oh, God. Mangonel timing as well. Super strong here. Lix has just made this entire game look so easy. Red, I don't think, realized there was a Mangonel there. I think he was just expecting the Scorpion to be hitting the crossbows as he's worrying about other things. But now he's going to have some random units he has to deal with as he's now 30 villagers behind. And now he has to leave. And now, like, what do? If you deal with this, you still lose the game because you can't go across and damage your opponent before he gets into whatever other unit type. Lix is just playing it perfectly. Castle from Red because he sees a castle from Lix. Unbeknownst to him, Lix already has castle here, making a trebuchet. And so this tiny little army getting tons of value. And Lix decides to just cancel that castle, which is a smart move because that would have been denied. This TC will complete. Not a lot of food eco or gold eco right now for red, but he does have Arbalest. But that castle he just built is already under siege from the trebuchets. And looks like Lix is going to take pretty easy win in game 2, which again puts him in the driver's seat to qualify for gold. And I don't think anyone's going to want to face up against Lix in Gold League, man. They're play all threes, right? So it's a little different. And Lix is he's just a fun player to watch, and he's a horrible player to play against. He hasn't done anything too funky, though. He's shown that he can play standard in this particular series. But he has that ability to do some wild stuff, which a lot of meta players in Gold League won't want to face up against. I feel like we've even seen some of it so far from Red. Like, he's expecting Lix to be sneaky, and then Lix just doesn't sneak. And the standard play ends up surprising you. Elite Goulem's in now, so these things are going to have 8 Pierce Armor. Red's trying to mix in a few Olbucks just to protect his Treb, but I mean, it's one Treb firing uphill. And now there's a Bomber Cannon here as well, and yeah, we're going to see the GG in a moment here, I think. I think for Red, it's a little bit of stress, realizing the stakes. Obviously, they've had to play 3 rounds, win 3 rounds to get to this moment. And he's just going to be hoping that Lix, like, accidentally deletes all of his villagers, or... basically just playing until he knows he is completely dead. Sometimes when you're super focused in tourneys, I've found, you don't actually look at your population, your resources, or your, like, the score as much as you would in a normal game, because you're just, like, so bent out of shape and so freaked out about everything else. But obviously, it's well within his right to fight, as there's a massive shot there in his Arbalest. He's got 10 army, 77 eco, and there he calls that GG. And Lix kind of just dominated him. And he dominated him with better feudal age control. He didn't kill more villagers in feudal, but what he was able to do with his economy in feudal was far superior to red. And I think Poles was just it was a risky pick. It was a lack of confidence. Brave Bear was not as brave as his name implies. It was a hesitant bear. So he felt like, you know, maybe he needed Poles and he needed a really good map. And he needed back stone, and he needed to get stone walls down and like some crazy night pressure later on, maybe. Lix didn't really seem bothered too much in this game at all. And now Brave Bear is going to have to win 3 straight to have a chance. Feels unlikely, but then again, he did have some crazy games, including some comebacks up against Uzi in the previous round. Lix, 7k more resources collected. I was a little surprised it wasn't more than that. 63 to 52 with the KD. But it felt like a 2-to-1 KD type of game, because every fight that was taken after the initial man-at-arm battle, it felt like it was all about Lix and all about his numbers and control. Are we in? We're in. Perfect. All right, game 3. I personally am on the Brave Bear hype train right now, okay? I'm rooting for the guy to get a win. I never like to see 3-0s in best of 5s, and I believe game number 1 was a bit of a throw from him. So even for his confidence going forward as a player, I want to see this guy get a win on the board. Lix is in the blue again, playing as the Bulgarians, and truthfully, if we're being honest, he was already the favorite, but now he's the heavy favorite to win this series, because, like, it's just going to be bad. Things are going to be really, really bad for Red, as he's going to need to win 3 straight. Now, Magyars are a great civilization in this type of situation. They have the cheaper scouts, and they get forging for free, so that makes Magyars top 3 or top 4 on this map, in my opinion. Bulgarians are also in that conversation because of the free man-at-arm upgrade and the cheaper blacksmith upgrades, which allows so much aggression to come down on a map where you tend to see them fight for wood control. The other thing to mention is this version of Atacama does have a little bit of water. So more often than not, you're going to see players make a dock. Very rarely do you see players skip that, but if they skip that, they're going to be going to feudal age super fast and normally tower rushing the wood. But I'd be a little surprised if we don't see docks from both players. I think, like, it puts you under so much pressure to kill villagers in the first 2 minutes of feudal if you don't dock, and players are so good at keeping units alive in those situations. So yeah, I could definitely see Lix skipping it and just going for man-at-arms. But, you know, like, we'll see how he wants to play it out. you've got enough food in here where it always feels like it's worth it to add some fish in Dark Age. Yeah, Arbase, I didn't really see the draft. Lithuanians are also really good here. Huns can be good here. But it's a best of 5 now, and they have other maps that might need to be played, so you might think that Lithuanians are better on a map like Cross, for example, which I think was another one of the... I think Cross was one of Lix's home maps. So we might see civilizations like Japanese, Huns, Lithuanians, even like a civ like Byzantines on the draft for that map, if we get there. You pronounce the middle layers from cone like O and book. So it's like coon. Wait, book. Cone. That's so weird for me. Cone, book, book, cone. I can't, dude. It's like, it's so confusing for my brain. I tried my best. It's so funny, man. When people like, it'll be a word or a name in another language, and people try and explain how I'm supposed to pronounce it, but I'm not used to that sound coming behind certain letters due to English, and it's always a little bit of a struggle for my mind. So I try my best. Your first try was perfect. Well, now, and I also have the memory of a goldfish, so I don't even remember what that first try was. A barracks? From Lix? This is the last thing I would have expected. Like, a barracks is good, don't get me wrong. But normally the barracks comes up before feudal age, so you can take advantage of the free man and arm upgrade. He's going for a drush. I think that would be last on strategies I would suggest for this map. I think man-at-arms, fast scouts, fast man-at-arms is great. You know, docking into all those things is great. But Lix is going to try... Wait, is he going to somehow click up here? Oh, I see. Okay, so the barracks is actually pretty late. You got to remember, I haven't looked at Age of Empires in 8 days. So my brain's not quite there. Yeah, he's going to go man-at-arms, but he just did it without a mill and without a dock, which is super all-in. But obviously, he could add a dock and he could add a mill while he's on his way. And there he goes. He clicks up. So it's a bit unique because the barracks and the lumber camps were the 2 Dark Age buildings. Normally, you're going to have like dock and lumber camp or mill and lumber camp, and then you add the barracks later. But I guess what this is for Lix is he wants to add fish after the fact, which is pretty unique, actually. I actually don't mind that. He's going to be up a little bit faster. Let's look at Lix's scouting now. And he hasn't actually seen the wood line. So we're going to see a second wood line now from red. A second lumber camp is what I should have said. At least I believe so, unless this is for something like towers. I think there'll be a lumber camp and some walling here. But walling in your wood lines is the most important thing here. And then Lix scouting the wood lines is obviously hugely important too. Because normally what happens is, against Bulgarians, players are going to wall up because of the man-at-arm threat. And then Lix is going to come forward and tower it. Oh, man. Oh, God. This could be... Oh, God. This is so bad. Get the other side here, man. Get the other side. Lix doesn't know! Lix doesn't know! Oh, my God. He could have run right in there. Does red know? Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, he lucked out there. He is going to overchop here. Oh, God. Oh, no. I'm so scared for him. Oh. We'll see if Lix ever checks that. Do we have a barracks yet for red? If he doesn't have a barracks yet, he could be in trouble. Oh, jeez. So he needs to wait for the stable, too. Oh, pressure's on. And here comes Lix with the vills. So I think if you see this, you have to counter tower it. And what Lix will often do in these situations is he'll start his tower, wait till you counter tower, and then he's going to cancel his tower. Like, he might pull his vills and just go to this wood line. Once you're committed to this, he will pull his vills, I think. I'm wrong. He's committing. Behind this, he added some fishing ships. He's going to be on 3, which is the same as red. And so this delays the wood income, and red still doesn't even have an archer range yet. Oh, man. So it might seem like a small thing, but on these fast builds, going to lumber camps and scouts is usually only something you see with Huns, because Huns don't have to spend the wood on houses, so they float more wood. Or like maybe Malians because their wood buildings are cheaper. But the 2 lumber camp approach, which is better for efficiency, actually has delayed Red's army massively here. That's not going to be something that he would have wanted, but all things considered, I think he's done a great job. He's going to win the tower war here, at least for now, because he's used the scout as a distraction. Yep, he's definitely winning that. He does have to pull the scout away now, and he does. And Lix may play the repair game as well here. Lix was late on the stone. He has a lot of villagers on stone, but he just got there, so he's going to want a tower here on this gold. And just now we have Red making some archers. It's taken a long time. 29 eco for both. This map is so brutal and so difficult to play, so I don't want to make it seem like this is all, like, obvious stuff. And that's going to be a perfect tower to deny golds. Now, Red does have a gold back here, which has been scouted. But you might want to run to that sooner rather than later. I could definitely see this being scouts from here, from Lix. Because the food counts should start to climb. He's actually made 5 fishing ships in that pond. And we're going to see a stable as well. And I like this from Red. I think that, you know, you can just give up on gold then and not really worry too much about archers in the long run. And just commit to full scouts. Lix has you opened up at this point, right? But your wood lines are still protected. And Magyar's, with a couple scouts plus the 2 or 3 archers you have, should be perfect to clear up the man-at-arms. Still no clue what Lix's long-term is. He hasn't actually made a building, and there it is. I like how Lix walled in the tower. I feel like a lot of players don't do that these days. He's playing extra safe. And scouts are coming out, something that Lix will actually see now. He sees the stable. And probably we'll see a blacksmith as well for Lix. You want to catch up on those upgrades against the Magyars because they started with forging for free. Any Kami games today? No. No Kami games till next week. It's all Titans League today. Sorry about that. Good micro. There's also going to be people that are like, thank God. I wanted Titans League. Can't keep everybody happy. Good micro here. And actually looking pretty good for Red right now. In terms of the army count anyways. Lix was late with his scout production compared to what I felt was achievable. And now suddenly Lix might need to worry about his wood lines as he's going to drop a tower here. Feels like more of an offensive tower versus a defensive tower, but it does keep him protected at the same time. And there he drops a couple foundations. And had he not done this, obviously he didn't see the army was coming this way. Had he not done this, it would have been a problem. And actually, he hasn't really hit these a lot. And they're through! Of course, the tower goes up at the same exact time for Lix. It's almost like he planned that. And he is hiding the fact that behind this, he's got scouts. So he's going to have forging in, which is something the Magyar player already has. And so Lix will actually be okay here. He's going to fight this off and hop back inside the tower, so he hasn't lost a villager yet. And he should be able to move out here because these scouts are weak. Plus, the tower foundation is actually going to... Or not the foundation, but the fire from the tower is actually going to help as the units leave. And this could be scout v scout v scout for the rest of feudal age, for all we know. I mean, look at the farm count. Like, Lix is really late to the farms. He's going to try and creep in here with more and more towers. Red has not gone to stone. Lix has stayed on stone, and we see this engagement come in. I think that's a good engagement from Red. But he needs another stable, or he needs more upgrades. He's getting armor right now, which will make a difference. But armor's already in for Lix. So we're starting to see the cheaper blacksmith upgrades and the faster researching blacksmith upgrades make a difference. As we now also see bloodlines for Red. And there is that second stable now. I think there's a world where you can just let this tower go up. You probably don't want to, but I think there's a world where you can allow it because you still have the wood over here. Bloodlines isn't on the way yet for Lix. Again, it is on the way here for Red. And he can't seem to get to these villagers, which is going to make life awkward. But he is going to be able to push back this army a little bit. And now Bloodlines is in too, so that's not too bad. And he does just reposition. I think that's a really smart move there from him. And he might even want to consider taking out this tower, but then again, Lix could garrison, so it's just awkward. And I think that's what Lix is happy about. He's probably happy his opponent's life is awkward. Let's see how Lix can do with damage control here, though, right? Because, like, before, there was an instance where he had a wall down, and then it got hit down, and he was able to hop inside the tower. Was that calculated, or was that just lucky for Lix? I guess we'll see. Both players producing a lot more scouts. Lix actually has more scouts, though. And Lix doesn't notice this. That's going to be a nice little doink there from Red. That's the second eco kill for him. Also worth pointing out that we have some fishing down here in the south. And that's important because there's not going to be a lot of fish remaining in their starting ponds now. Still no bloodlines for Lix, which is crazy to me. Like, you really need to get bloodlines. I think that's why Red's taking this fight, is because he sees that Lix doesn't have it. I think you could still continue to take it if there's no bloodlines in for Lix, but it's still, you know, you don't have the towers helping you, and Lix does. And now Lix is getting bloodlines. Yeah, full scout upgrades, and HP is usually one of the most important things here in these fights, so I think Red's going to be really happy with these engagements, but as I say that, he backs away. It's really hard for me to gauge, like, how much the towers really matter there, but man, this is going to be an issue. But he spotted it, didn't he? And Lix is going to drop a house foundation, and oh my god, Lix is so annoying, man. Now what do? Do you pull these villagers? I think you have to pull these villagers away from this woodline and go over here. They're sitting there like they're with the this is fine meme. He now goes to stone, and he's now heading over towards Lix's base to find damage, where he'll find Lix making another stable. But these villagers are all exposed. Red has a lot of work cut out for himself right now. As he finds, maybe a villager there? No, it doesn't look like he killed a villager. He actually just lost 2 scouts, and now he could lose villagers to Lix. Both with the tower, but also the scouts. But Red has more scouts on the field, right? This tower won't keep villagers protected that long. I think actually you batter this with villagers, if you're Red. This is so tough to call, right? But I think that's what you do if you're not fleeing. And Brave Bear is now on the way to Castle Age, guys. Sick, man. Sick. Okay. 17 to 17 KD. A really well-fought game right now. And now Lix is going to repair this from the other side, and he's just going to try and keep this up for as long as possible. Look at these villagers. Oh, there's so many villagers for the taking. But something that Red's doing is he's continuing scout production while he's on the way to Castle Age. So he hasn't stopped production of scouts, which means he's actually going to be able to defend in most cases. Like, Lix was hoping that he could send his army here and then kill the villagers battering down the tower, but that's not actually happening. Lix does have spearmen here, which should allow him to defend. But now a minute away from Castle Age is Brave Bear. Again, he could have won game number 1. If you didn't watch that, some people would have classed that as a throw. I heard villager die somewhere. It looks like it was a villager for Lix. Oh yeah, there was another villager that was in that tower that must have hopped out. Oh, wow, sick job. Maybe you get the villagers back to work now and you don't batter down this one. That's a big commitment. But the +2 attack is going to come in here shortly for Red. That comes in for free, obviously, with the Magyars. And I would say drop a TC as quickly as you can here on the woodline. And then maybe mix in some siege or something that can allow you to break through. But, I mean, Lix is one bad overchop away from losing the game here. It almost feels like that opportunity's there for Red, like right now, if he could notice it. He probably went back to his base to click a couple upgrades. There's the Siege Workshop. Opportunities here. And Brave Bear with the quick walls. Very well played. He needed that. And he also needs to notice there's an overchop here. Something that Lix hasn't noticed yet. Now he has to head over to the gold. And it's obviously going to be much easier for Red to take fights now. As opposed to Lix. Because Lix still hasn't clicked up to Castle Age. And there he goes now. But this should be dead vills. This should be a lot of dead villagers. Lix can send some inside the tower. But he can only send so many inside the tower. And then whatever's remaining should die here. Not the biggest fan of the fact that Red is chasing these scouts. But maybe he feels like he has to because the gold miners. Also not a fan that we didn't see the light cav upgrade. I think light cav could have helped out a whole lot more here than just the attack. Did end up killing one more eco unit from Lix in this whole exchange. But it's not what you want. You want to kill like 4 or 5 if you're that much faster. If Lix knows that that gold's there and he doesn't see knights tracking him, he's going to head right back towards it. Can he see it? I think he saw enough to know that it's been taken. He should be thinking about that because neither of these golds are being taken. The scouts will take a fight. Knights now moving forward. They're going to head right in towards the gold. Lix still 60 seconds away from the next stage. He needs to kill villagers on a gold. Otherwise, he could be dead. And he's dropping another tower here. And again, the Magyar Knights should dominate the villagers, but maybe with more space to hide inside of towers, it's helpful. But the scouts aren't finding value there. You've now got a ram taking out this tower, which will give Red access to the gold again. And it is all Brave Bear right now, who's not going out of this series without a fight. There's the second town center on a gold. Resources aren't really looking that good right now for Lix either. He's not floating resources that makes you think he can spam knights forever here. Army count's not bad, though. And if you could get into pikemen with a couple knights, you never know. Plus, there's the potential for dropping the Krepos. Remember, game number 1, we had Brave Bear getting into a winning position and then eventually losing the game because of a Lix comeback. The experienced players just know how to bring games like this back. We had 6 eco kills by Red. He hasn't lost a single eco unit in this game. He's done better with all the other stats, too. Like, idle TC time is lower. Idle eco time is lower. But how much does that really matter in the long run when you're up against a master like Lix, who's all about positioning? And he knows how to stay alive in games. He's a pest. This is so funny how he just hops inside the towers against knights. It's really smart thinking. 2 TCs for Red. What's his army count going to be like? Here he loses a bit of army. Over here, taking a pretty good fight. The pikemen and those numbers will be no problem for those knights as he drops TC number 3. Anyone else getting a little worried he's not going to have wood? I'm going to go a little worried for Red that he might lose wood to a Krepos drop. Lix is probably going to realize he's super far behind. The main thing you want to do then is drop that Krepos in the middle. Can he get there? I would have really preferred to see a TC over here or something. Like something that was on wood. That wouldn't stop a Krepos, but still. Easy to forget about wood here. Also, easy to forget about the ponds. Lix has also been in the north. He also added fish traps here. Something Red did do as well. I think all your focus now for the next couple minutes for Red should probably be... And that's a really nice move. Even though the tower saves the Vil. I think it should be on the middle. You just don't want to lose access to the middle. So clear up the towers. He still has a really nice balance of raids versus defense as well. And 16 knights on the field versus 7 pikemen with 4 more on the way. I mean, it feels like the knights can just fight off the pikemen. And if Brave Bear can use those town centers to produce more villagers. And even maybe get to a castle. It seems like both players are en route to a castle. That Brave Bear can make this happen and keep himself alive in this series. This is a really good player. I was hyping the guy up for a reason. If you didn't watch the Brave Bear Uzi series, spoilers, Brave Bear won because he's here, but there were some crazy games in that series. I think it was one of the most competitive sets in the entire silver bracket. Obviously, I didn't see everyone. There were a lot of games, and we covered most of them, but there were still many that I missed. All right, so it wasn't going to be a Krepos, I guess. It was going to be a castle for Lix. Or maybe he just... You know, you don't want to make a defensive Krepos, so maybe he just has been waiting. It's easy to think that he had a plan, but I don't think the plan was to make it defensive. As the knights just loop right back into the gold. I mean, it's non-stop from Red. He doesn't really seem to care too much about fighting off the pikes because he's got great upgrades with the Magyar Knights. He's defended all these tiny little attacks, too, I've noticed. And he's still trying to work down these these towers with the ram there. It's 10-2 now. Make it 11-2 on the eco side. Probably that number will grow here for Red. And yet again, brilliant defense here with both of his town centers garrisoned and units ready and units healing at home as well. I think Brave Bear has this game. He's now ahead by 24 villagers. And he's ahead by 15 army. The only thing I could say is that Lix could still drop a castle here, and he's actually going to go Krepos. That's obviously something that Red might want to deny. But castle does beat Krepos, so what you could do is you could just drop a castle. And maybe you just end the game. Drop a Krepos right on the other guy's face. If he drops a Krepos here, the game just gets crazy. Yeah, there we go. Not Krepos, sorry, castle. Sick. You just can't stop 23 Magyar Knights with full upgrades if you have 7 pikemen and 4 light cav. Even if you had 6 monks, it wouldn't happen, right? You just don't have the numbers here. I also love how Red sent enough, right? A lot of players send like 5 to 10 villagers. Doubt. But no, I mean, he sent like 15 villagers here. 18 villagers, excuse me. And if that castle goes up, wood becomes more of an issue for Lix. And it's not an issue for Red, who can also take some of this gold too. This Krepos barely offers much. And actually could go down the knights. So Lix might want to wall that up if he feels like he still actually has a chance in this game. Yeah, just take that gold. Look at the food eco. Not to mention he's going to have a lot more on gold in the moment. And this economy is insane. He killed a lot more villagers down here. So 22 villagers killed now in this game. And he's running here. Lix thought he trapped those knights. He did not. So another villager will die. And more villagers could die here. And Lix does not want to give this one up, guys. But pretty soon, I think his TC is just going to go down to these knights. Like, Red isn't really seeing a lot apart from this TC that he could really pick off. So why not? And I don't think there's any reason to tech switch either. In a closer game, you're probably hesitant about donating some conversions here. In a closer game, you might also be wanting to heal up the weak ones. That's more of an Arabia-style thing, too. I think on Atacama, that's tricky. A couple Conics came in here from the Crepos. That's sneaky from Lix. But Brave Bear's going to convert one of them. And he's going to kill the rest of what's left here. And he still has a massive army on this side. And he's going to drop another castle. And this is a get out of my game castle. Let's go to game 4 castle. I can beat Lix. Despite what all the Lix fans may say castle. The red clears up the pikes there. This castle will complete. And again, I'd like to see the fletching upgrade. We talked about that in this series already for the castles. I would even love to see Bodkin, to be honest. But yeah, Lix taps out. All right. I'm happy for the guy. I think that shows the quality that this player has. You watch that game and you think, yeah, these guys are the same skill level, right? You watch game number 2, it doesn't look like that. This game has actually been the series has actually been very interesting if you think about it, because Brave Bear had the lead in game 1 and unfortunately lost it. Game 2, Lix dominated. Game 3, Brave Bear dominated. And I think the big question mark for Lix for me was beyond the towers. What was your follow-up this game? It was eventually going to be scouts, but I just felt like it was way too slow. I did like how he fished, but his opponent being faster to the scouts when he had opened archers was a bit weird, right? Normally, if your opponent opens archers, you will have been opening scouts at the same time, so they will not be able to catch up to those scout numbers. That's like, in theory, how that game should flow. Didn't flow that way for Lix. Maybe he was trying to be too fancy with the water build. And, maybe the towers took a lot away from him. But yeah, 6,000 more resources collected there for Brave Bear. We'll move on to game number 4. The bad news for Brave Bear is that the rest of the games are going to be on Lix's home maps. The good news is that they're maps that he should be pretty good on, and I've seen from him before. So the question is, can Brave Bear reverse sweep Lix? And if there was ever a sieve to get that conversation started here, it would be the Mongols on Jungle Swamp. Apologies, I know Christmas is past at this point, but we've still got to deal with all the Rudolphs. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hunt on this map. One of the best civilizations for it has always been the Mongols because the Mongol hunt bonus. The Brave Bear in the red, yet again, Mongols, and then we've got Lix playing as the Huns. And another thing I'll mention is that the wood lines seem to be a lot more awkward for Lix. Normally you're going to have like one wood line on the back, but doesn't really have a lot to go to. So if there's ever a question of walling up and playing defensive on this map, I think that Lix's map tells him it's going to be more of a full feudal game. Now, there was a couple times I've seen Huns versus Mongols, and if it gets to Castle Age, I actually think Huns are the better civilization. It's a really fun matchup. And it's a matchup we used to see a lot more back when there were fewer expansion civilizations and random Civ Arabia games, right? So it's kind of a blast for the past for me to see this. Even better when the players pick it, right? But the best game that I've ever seen with Huns and Mongols on this map, and maybe Huns and Mongols in general, was the Say My Name versus Backed. No. It wasn't Say My Name. It was Song versus Backed in the first season Platinum, final week. And what happened was, what made it interesting was Backed needed to win to be able to move into third place in the group. And it was the final game, right? And then Capoch was watching it, and Capoch needed Back to lose, so he would go third in the group. It was really interesting. Long story short, Capoch, I rewatched it, even though I don't speak Spanish. He was watching, and he was like screaming, "Vamos, vamos, vamos!" Like cheering on Song, who's going to spoil things for Back, as Song went for freaking Tarkins, man. This unit right here, which you don't see every day. Elite Tarkin is actually very dangerous up against the Mongols. Or it's dangerous for the Mongols to face up against. Anyways, sorry, I was a little bit of a rant, but I think that is on YouTube somewhere. You should definitely check it out. And that's what will get exciting once we're into Gold and Platinum. When we're into the groups, it's like getting into the final weeks. Where you end up within a group might depend on how others perform, and consistency is obviously key. But the first seasons of Titans League had me so hyped because you had the playoffs, right? So you had like the quarters onwards, which is like any other tourney. But you also had the relegation conversation, which is also freaking awesome. So I'm pumped for that. KJ, thank you for the stars. Hey, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we'll be looking to see exactly how Lix wants to manage this. Because so far, he hasn't moved out. That in and of itself is fairly standard here. Players prefer to push in as much food as possible so they don't have to take many risks later on. And we're going to see the exact same thing from Brave Bear. He's just like, well, we're probably going scouts. So I'm just going to stay at home with my scout and just get as much food as possible. JBR, set's been good. Set's been good. No, he forgot a building. Ah! Sorry, that was loud, but he forgot a building. This is the classic Mongols problem where you get the food really fast, and then you forgot to make a second Dark Age building. And he started to make a mill, and then thought, oh god, I don't want to make a mill there, and then actually went for a barracks. So this slows him down. He wanted to be at like 13 or 14 population here. This is still really fast, though. It's not too bad. He's on his way to feudal age as we speak. With Loom, too, so that'll be helpful. All right, so this is like... my opinion is that anything below 18 pop, maybe 17 pop, let's put it that way, is too fast with scout builds. Now, some people don't like this type of comment. A lot of people out there are going to be like, yeah, well, 15 pop scouts and 14 pop scouts sounds really cool. Because when you're talking build orders, you know, you talk about the population typically and not the actual time. So I'll be curious to see how good the eco actually is here for red. As Lix is just going for the Great Wall of China over here. There's so much for not being able to wall this up, and that's how he's going to, you know, defend himself, I suppose, from the Mongols. Maybe it's going to be more of a spearman play from him until the walls are down. Let's see how much he can actually produce here. The question is, can he make a stable, and then can he afford to make scouts? Right now, it's looking like he could do a pretty good job with it. And 17 population, not the most extreme. Currently, Brave Bear is chasing Lix's scout. He knew he'd be feudal age faster. So Lix does the smart thing, guys. A lot of people here run. But running, you're going to lose your scout anyways. So he actually fights it off. So now this is a weaker scout. Which is actually hugely beneficial if you want to get walls down. Because this one scout now cannot deny a wallville. You would need to wait for the next scout as well. Okay. Lix is not fully walled. He's far from it, but he will have stone and gold and some extra hunt in his base. Won't be a lot, though. He's got like 1 here, 4 here. A lot of players do just want to focus on farms in the long run, right? Like, if they're not Mongols, they don't rely heavily on hunt. Whereas Red's going to go for mills everywhere. And Red's now looking for Lix. And he can't find him yet. Oh, no. The timing here is so important. That scout needs to get forward. And so, again, if this was a full HP scout, that villager gets picked off. But Lix can freely wall because Red knows that he can't fight that back. And Lix is now placing more wall foundations. Is going to add his own scouts. And has just been cool as a cucumber, as they say, so far. And typically you have more of a backwood line. But Lix said, I don't care, I'm going to wall anyways. I think Red not knowing how the rest of the map looks hurts here. Because you're not expecting Lix to have this big wall down. So you're like, okay, he's defended this. I'm not going to take any risks and run in. He's going to be open elsewhere. And then as you run around, you're beginning to think like, oh crap, are you kidding me? Is he actually walled? Also, is he actually walled? Yes, apparently he is. So that's a full wall too, with the way those scouts moved. And now suddenly you want to produce all these scouts, and you've got to think more defensive with them than anything. We'll see how much Lix produces here. He went for the wood upgrade and the farm upgrade like a standard game. Here he's able to kill a scout. Loses the spearman. I think he'll take that trade. Didn't even choose to make a mill over here. Just farm, farm, farm. And looks like some small walls incoming now for red. Now, I remember a game, it was actually in the same group in Platinum. It was Winchester versus Kapwatch. I think Kapwatch was Chinese and Winchester was Mongols. And Kapwatch did exactly what Lix is doing here. He made like 3 scouts, and all that Winchester did was he just stopped making scouts, defended himself with his own scouts, and went to Castle Age at like some crazy, ridiculous time with all the hunt. I mean, Red's been killing spearmen, but he's been losing a scout every time, which is not ideal. And he's also producing quite a few more scouts than you would expect here. But I guess in his mind, it's like, he's not going to farm much, at least for now. He also could be thinking of all-inning. Like, he could be thinking scouts and archers and trying to break all this down. He's got spearmen over on this side where the villagers are exposed. Here is the one area where he doesn't have spearmen right now. How much does Lix know? Oh, God. Lix scouted that area earlier. That's really interesting. Like, Lix is probably looking for hunters. Bloodline's now on the way for red. Did he think there was a hole, maybe? Like, it almost looks like he's played this like he thought he was going to be able to break in. Going to gold, too, is interesting if you're not going to add the archer range. But I guess that was for the Bloodlines upgrade, which does cost some gold. It is more awkward with Huns to defend in these scenarios because they can't house wall and they have to go palisades. Lix took some damage here and is pulling away. Some villagers going to stone now for red as he's sending villagers forward. So yeah, he wants to open his opponent up here. And what is that, like the 4th or 5th spearman that Lix has lost in this game? It's going to be full feudal from red. And I actually don't mind it. I think the second his scouts break in, Lix has big problems. And the best way to break in is to drop a tower here. Because then the villagers can't just randomly repair or wall behind. Something that red needs to be mindful of, though, is houses. So he's doing that now. He needs to be very aware of where his villagers are exposed. Because backed is... Why am I saying backed? We talked about backed earlier. That's my brain for you. But, sorry, not backed. Lix is still producing scouts and is getting forging now, which is something that I do not think that red is expecting. He's expecting low production from Lix and to head towards Castle Age. Not forging scouts and not in this high of a number. 3 spearmen could be okay if they fought together, but uh-oh, forging making a difference. Meanwhile, there's the tower, and Lix sees this, so he needs to repair walls. He also needs to make a counter tower. No villagers killed yet in this game. And overall, red's still fine at home. It's not the prettiest situation ever, but has spearmen. Can he break through here, though? He's going to drop his tower. He's going to garrison now. And meanwhile, Lix trying to get another vill, losing some scout HP. Lix is defending. Now, something that's important here. Lix is prepping walls just in case. That's good forward thinking here. We also might see a second stable from both players. There's the second stable from red, who did clear up the majority of Lix's scouts. Really important that he did that. See, the aggression is paid off not with kills, but with... not in kills in the traditional sense, but it's caught Lix off guard, which meant maybe he wasn't able to defend from this, and the towers have definitely paid off. Look at that. He pulls back. He's going to use the tower on the spearman. We can go to a game 5 here, guys. All red needs is just non-stop scout production from here, and Lix needs another stable. No bloodlines for Lix. Lix does have forging, and he also does have armor. So I actually think the fights end up being pretty even when you consider all the upgrades. Tower fire matters too. Okay, we have repairs now. Repairs and garrisons. God, this is so awkward. Lix is also really low on wood, I've noticed. He doesn't have much going on over here. So if he were to lose this as well, it could be really massive. He could run out of wood to reseed farms possibly. But he actually defends from this. I guess that's just the closer reinforcements. And oh god, red's gather point was set forward. And these will be the first villager kills of the game. That also could be the faster stable production speed from Huns paying off. So you're producing close to home, but you also, your stable produces a little bit faster. It felt like red would have had... You know, hold on a second, guys. I'm actually going to go back. Was red housed there? Was he, like, super housed at all? Not really. It actually doesn't look like he had any in queue. So that was probably the difference. Sorry. I was just curious on that. Because I saw how close he was to 50 pop. 19-19 on the KD. Lix defends himself, though. Like, that was really good defense. He's going to re-wall this now. His resources are looking perfect. He's killed 4 villagers. And now he has a significant enough army out there where he could kill more, but also red has to make army to defend it. Like, red has to respect this mass, because you've got to think, if you don't have something to chase it down, Lix is going to find kills eventually. A sick job from Brave Bear there. And he will be fine on the stone, but Lix isn't going to be too concerned about stopping that for the time being. A big clear up here from red, who's still producing. Probably needs to slow down production. But it's really hard to know what direction this game is going, right? When you're open, you have to be scared that your opponent's going to kill you at all times, and sometimes that leads to overproducing army a little bit. Now imagine if this number of scouts was there before the villagers went down, right? It's a completely different game, but the timing was there for Lix, who's going to drop archer ranges now, and we're going to see the Hun classic scouts and spearmen into cav archers. I'm really impressed that Lix just had one stable that whole time. Like, I would have dropped the second stable out of panic there. Just shows the class of player that he is. Many might see it as greedy in that situation. And, you know, if it's punished, then, yeah, maybe you see it as greedy. But he ends Feudal Age with the 4 villager kills. We've got some leftover scouts from red. Red might be thinking about Mangadai. We've even seen Steppe Lancers prioritized here a lot, but from the Mongols. But triple range cav archers. And I haven't said this for a really long time, but many people have asked me over the years and said, like, hey, what's it like? When is cav archers good? When do you think cav archers thrive? And my answer has always been, if you're in Castle Age first. If you're trying to get the cav archer mass when you're behind a Castle Age, or even times, you can have problems. Even times is okay, depending on the situation, obviously. But if you're in Castle Age first, you're going to have a wave of cav archers before they make whatever they're going to make on their side. And Hun cav archers might not be the strongest cav archers ever, but they're the strongest cav archer civ, many would think, because of how cheap it is for them. So it's cheap cav archers, but also they still don't have to make houses. So it's just so easy for them to mass a unit that's normally pretty expensive. That scout, angry and wants to kill a villager. Doesn't look like that will happen. I have no clue what this is. This almost feels like a side siege workshop play from red. Like, you know, maybe some scorpions with some knights and steppe lancers combined. We have a knight. I like this. I think having one knight in the field is really nice. Especially up against scouts, just to have like a little bit more of a buffer. And red's actually going to move in here. But he's not going to win that fight, so he backs away now, as we see camels now. And there is a siege workshop right there, like right next to Lix. Lix can't see it. He also has the stone for a castle. It feels like he wants to do a lot of things, but I'm not sure if he can afford it all. Like, can he go camels, drop a castle, and go siege at the same time? Lix has kept things a lot simpler for himself here. Ballistics on the way. Cav archers and the knights heading in right towards the gold. But I think with this amount of camels, I think that this is fine to defend this area for now. Still not so sure on if the siege is realistic. It'll be +2 armor on the camels, which is kind of an important upgrade to get against cav archers. Camels do bonus damage against knights and cav archers. The issue with camels is that they lack pierce armor compared to a knight. So they kill cav archers faster, but they die faster, which is why you definitely need to get that armor in early. And that's good micro from Lix there, right? He used the spearman against some camels. Had the knight distracting the camels. Ballistics is now into, and yeah, camels still against archer fire. Which doesn't feel too good. Still waiting with this, right? Now, as we see a town center here from red, he actually sold some stone for gold. So he needed gold to keep the camel production and the siege going. As far as I can see, he is completely off of the hunt as well. Maybe these two villagers will take hunt. Yeah, this town center feels hugely important, right? Like, the timing on this has to has to be right. Otherwise, you could fall further and further behind here. And we knew about the Mongols. We knew about all the hunt on the map and how important those things can be. But Brave Bear's just getting picked apart right now. Lost 4 villagers in feudal age. And now he's losing even more here. And the Cav Archers can probably still run away as well. Oh, God. He's found the perfect choke point. Oh, Lix is loving life right now. 11 eco kills for Lix, who now drops the second town center freely in the middle. And will try and run away with these Cav Archers. But is trapped. Who does this benefit more? I think this will actually be good for Red. God, that's annoying. That's super annoying. Red will like the kills, though. I think Red will get those kills. As opposed to them running home to where the monk is. Or where there will be monks. I think that's fine. Camel's kind of on his own. Siege doesn't feel too hot right now. Third town center now for Lix. He's up 2-1 here. He just needs one more win to move on and make it to gold in Titans League. Sorry, he needs one more win to make it to Titans League gold. Yeah, this is what I should have said. Only 12 Cav Archers. And this is definitely a world where Red might feel behind and Red might want to drop a castle here or something. So if he could get a few more camels and scorpions, I could see it. And that's not like the classic, you know, caster tries to act like one guy has a chance technique that I don't use. I would never use. But no, seriously, I mean it. Like Scorpion Knight, Scorpion Camel is really good. And he already has +2 armor. And there's only 14 Cav Archers. But I think what would happen if he sends Vils is the Vils get sniped by the Cav Archers. And I'm not sure you can afford to lose like another 10 or 15 villagers that you would send forward. And I also think it's becoming more and more difficult for the Scorpions and the Camels to meet up together. You've got these units running across the map, but they're cut off, so they have to loop around. And now, that castle would never work. And oh god, another Scorpion hops out too. Man, Lix has made this look so easy. Yeah, Huns do not get redemption, so heavy siege play can be awkward against them. Or I guess I should say can be awkward for them to defend against. But yeah, as someone now says in my chat, Lix denied the early pressure from Mongols. He actually ended up killing more in feudal age. Castle age was better in terms of timing. And the flow of the game is also much better as well. He's got 3 town centers. This Cav Archer mass is only getting bigger. He's got ballistics. He's got thumb ring. He is full Castle age upgrades for Cav Archers, actually, guys. That's not something you see every day. Normally, you're seeing players skip out on armor upgrades or thumb ring. But he's invested, like, I want to say 1,000 resources, if not more, into just upgrading his Cav Archers. And, oh, where are the Scorpions now? No, make a Scorpion. Oh, I'm so upset for Red. If there were Scorpions here, these Cav Archers would regret it. I hate it when players find positions like this. I feel like anytime I get in a choke point like this, there is a Scorpion or a Mangonel. But not today. Not right now. There is a Scorpion being created. But all the camels have gone down, and the eco difference was just growing and growing. More villagers would have been killed off on the left side. And as many predicted when they saw the bracket, as many predicted when they saw that it was going to be Lix playing in Titans League Silver, the Chinese beast moves past Brave Bear, and Lix will be in Titans League Gold this January. I'm excited to see Lix play in that. Obviously, the competition's going to be much higher, right? But happy to see the guy competing in 1v1s and showing what he's capable of here. Also, I've gained a lot of respect for Brave Bear as a player. The guy came into this bracket at like 2150 elo. Lix is like 2450, right? Uzi, who Brave Bear beat, is like 2350. So he's like barely in the top 100 in terms of elo and ranked games. And Brave Bear was able to get a win off of Lix. Could have had 2 if he won game number 1. And, you know, so if that would have happened, maybe we would have even seen 5 games here. So, you know, the whole point of Silver is to give players who wouldn't normally have opportunities to prove themselves. And also just gain experience, which can help them throughout their other aspects of their careers. And Brave Bear certainly gained a fan out of me in casting Silver. So well played to him. We'll look at the resources, though. I mean, Lix was just flying. Only collected 5,000 more resources, but he collected more wood, more food, more gold, more stone, more of everything. And the KD would have just got worse and worse there as well, right? Because he would have had way more Cav Archers than his opponent would have camels. And I think what had actually made Red call the GG was not so much this, but it was the fact that there was another army that was going to get 4 or 5 kills on the other side. So very good series.